but without further ado, hey there business owners, directors and marketeers. In today's show, I'm talking to Mark from Tillison Consulting, who has an interesting spectrum within his company. I'm Lucas, your host like always, and I'm very stoked to speak with Mark, who is the founder and managing director of Tillison Consulting. So Mark is an established figure in the digital marketing arena. So with years of a successful experience in online and offline sales, PPC, SEO, as well as conversion rate optimization, he inspires businesses to maximize their digital marketing results. So he's really helping them through the funnel to increase, ultimately signups and get more clients. The company was founded in 2007, Tillison Consulting, and has evolved into a multifaceted digital marketing agency, and we want to learn all about this and all about Mark today. So hey Mark, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
Really good. So tell us about the company a little bit more. What is it all about?
So it was founded, as you said, back in 2007. So a bit of a whistle-stop journey. I'd been involved with Google Ads kind of when it was still at its let's call it a Fisher-Price stage. It was still fairly simple in those days. I kind of fell in love with it, and just being able to kind of change things and be able to see the data of what was actually happening and the results. It was kind of like a digital pat on the back, which I quite liked, having that kind of that feedback loop, I guess. It grew obviously in terms of number of clients, number of employees, and then we kind of spread into kind of Facebook PPC and then search engine optimization. And along that journey, of course, you get into Google Analytics as well. You need to measure what's happening so you can improve it. Of course, we had our share of kind of experiences with clients saying, your Google Ads campaign isn't working, I'm not getting sales through my website, and we were kind of going, hey, hang on a minute. The traffic's fine, the marketing part is fine. It's actually your sales aren't happening because the landing pages or the product or the website itself or the brand just isn't converting. So similar to what you were saying just a moment ago, so we went on that journey and had our fair share of kind of unfair blame that things weren't working. And so, of course, we got into conversion rate optimization and landing page experiments, this kind of stuff as well. So we're currently 15 in our team, working across SEO, PPC, conversion rate optimization, Google Analytics, web design development, that kind of stuff. Experiencing a huge amount of growth right now, which comes with its own problem, but yeah, good problem to have.
I wanted to say good problems to have, especially if you're touching on those very interesting topics, ranging from PPC, SEO, and then go into conversion rate optimization. You can actually help all the way through. Very good. So what are the people that would benefit most from your services? Which type of companies are you usually working with?
So there's a big proportion of our clients are e-commerce, as you'd expect. That's I think because it's kind of fairly direct, so the work that we do you can measure in terms of revenue, but yeah, I mean, my gut feel is it's probably around 50-50 in terms of kind of e-commerce and lead generation, but we tend to work with a broad spectrum, so there'll be everything from the typical industries and the verticals that you'd expect. So accountants and solicitors and service providers, but as I say, a lot of e-commerce stores, local businesses as well. So everything from, dentists to beauty salons as well. So never a dull moment kind of learning about all these different businesses and what makes them tick and how their customers behave online. So yeah, broad spectrum really.
Very interesting. Yeah, we've had a couple of conversations with people within the conversion rate optimization space, touching on marketing as well. Is there specific verticals that you see emerging to create more interest into conversion rate optimization and into the types of work that you're doing? There's the traditional suspects, but do you see something new emerging where there's more openness within new verticals?
I think in terms of conversion rate optimization or CRO, for years we've kind of called it user experience and CRO and all these different things, but ultimately, of course, it's just getting people more visitors to convert and get them to do what you want them to do. So I think as the industry matures, and certainly in the last few years, I think we can start to consider it mainstream. Whereas when we started back in 2007, it was kind of, it was unusual, and you had to spend 10 minutes trying to explain to somebody what you did,
Yep.
and it was quite difficult. Whereas now, I think, there's a lot of support through education now, so there are courses in digital marketing. Whereas when I started, it was kind of, you went on an IT course or a marketing course,
Yep.
and you then tried to figure out how the hell to do SEO or PPC.
Yep.
So I think as the market matures, and that kind of spreads across lots of verticals. So historically it would have been kind of online only businesses like e-commerce, for example, whereas a lot of the high street businesses now that are obviously online, they're starting to kind of understand that it's much more competitive, and they need to do more than just throw some money at Facebook ads and hope for the best. So I think that the conversion rate optimization is kind of spreading right across, really. But I think the more people spend, I think it becomes more important, and they want to get more from it. So yep. I think there's more of a correlation in terms of, if you're spending quite a lot, then you want to make sure you're getting the most from that, I guess.
Very good. Yeah, we had a couple of conversion rate optimization specialists on the show, and sort of I think the common theme was that conversion rate is sometimes a little bit undervalued, or it's not being as obvious within the teams, within the marketing teams, not the first metric to look at. What's your experience there? Do you educate quite a bit around the topic still, or do people come already and ask you for the services?
Yes, we do. I think in terms of when we're looking at a kind of managed service almost, it's one of the things that we kind of include, really. There's, as I said before, if you're running just someone comes to us and says, look, can you run a Google Ads campaign for me? I've done it myself and it doesn't seem to be working. Of course, you look on the kind of what I call kind of click side. You look at the Google Ads campaign, you look at the keywords, you look at the ad copy, you look at ad positions, you look at devices, and everything kind of click side. But the things quite often, there's kind of, okay, look, you're making a heap of mistakes here, and you might be wasting 50% of your budget. But actually, once you've kind of solved a number of those problems, the biggest gains quite often are, look, your landing pages are terrible. The call to action isn't visible. These kinds of things. I think, so we try and kind of bolt those together, because ultimately, I think the thing I kind of realised is that, do you know what? Clients don't want a Google Ads account, and they don't even want a website. What they want to do is make money, and all these things are just tools. So, they kind of go off and they have a website developed, and they go and build a Google Ads campaign, or they try and do SEO, and they get lots of traffic, and then, while I'm spending all this money, why aren't I getting sales? And some of that is a click side problem, some of that is a website problem. And actually, quite often we run into these challenges as well, is it's not just a website problem, it's not just a layout, it's not the call to action, it's not even the journey through the shopping cart and shocking the hell out of somebody with a massive delivery charge. That, that's a common one, I think we all know in the industry. Clients don't always see that, by the way. But, and they're surprised when you kind of go, man, look, you look at your exit rate and it's because of this delivery charge you hadn't mentioned. Yep. But actually, something we've come to realise is that actually it can often just be the sales proposition. So, it's not the design or the layout, it's just the way you are describing your product, or the product's features compared to other products on the market just aren't competitive. So it's not the marketing, it's actually the sales. Yep. So, that can have some issues. And of course, as a digital marketing agency, you're left kind of going, well, where do I draw the line here? Because if I'm doing your marketing, or my team's doing your marketing, we're doing your pay-per-click, and we're maybe designing your website, and we've got your brand, and we're doing all these things, actually, it's still not generating what we want. Do we then get into sales strategy and say, well, look, actually, your product needs to do this? So it's, well, hang on a minute, we're now designing your product. So, where do we kind of draw that line? We love to have huge successes and make clients lots of money, but there comes a point at which sometimes you have to go, look, hang on, this is kind of, this isn't a marketing problem, and it's not a user experience or a CRO problem. This is literally down to product. And we've had a handful of issues, in cases like that. So it is a challenge. But I mean, if you get much further beyond that, then you're left kind of thinking, why do I need a client? I may as well just do all of this and buy the product myself, right? So yeah, that's, I guess, one of the challenges.
Very good, very interesting. I'm curious, since you obviously, your team comes with a lot of expertise in the digital marketing arena, I'm curious, how do clients find your businesses usually, or your services usually? A typical user journey, what would that be looking like? Because I'm quite sure you have a very interesting way of laying that out.
I don't think there's ever kind of one typical. I think, we're all kind of human beings. We all behave very differently. I think you do get some people that will just search online, and of course we're a search agency, within the team, so we're good at that. So we get found for kind of relevant terms. We rank well for some things. We have some just literally today, for example, where they've seen a video on Google Shopping and Google Merchant Center problems, and they've actually found the website, off the back of that YouTube video. And contacted us straight via the website. So,
Yep.
there's some kind of trust in our expertise built through the YouTube videos and the YouTube channel. And those are very often kind of, me ranting about some pain we've had and just a stupid problem that shouldn't be a problem, and me going, man, this is so annoying, and finding out how to fix it, and then just kind of telling everyone on the YouTube channel. So we get a few like that, but a lot will come through search. But then, I think the most pleasing ones are where clients are referred to us. We're
Yep.
recommended by somebody else that we've done a great job for, and they come to us for that same kind of level of expertise and the same outcomes, I guess. So yeah, it's many and varied. I think really the biggest channel is probably search.
Yep.
I would think.
Makes a lot of sense. If people want to find the YouTube channel, what do they need to search for?
So, I mean, if you just Google Tillison, it's a fairly uncommon kind of term. So
Okay.
you'll find us, or just Tillison YouTube. But it's youtube.com/Tillison Consulting. You can find it there anyway. So, yeah.
Very good. And as a business owner for a training / consulting company, which sort of has both wings in sort of one business, how do you think about the online strategy to grow a business like this, within the next maybe 1, 2, maybe even 5 years? Like, what are maybe high-level themes that are important for you that you think you shouldn't miss?
I mean, there's kind of three streams to our business, really. So consultancy and the coaching and training that you mentioned, but managed services as well. So,
Yep.
and quite often we kind of mix those. So with quite a few of our projects, clients have internal resource to deliver some of that project. So we may do some coaching and training with their internal staff to deliver part of what we're doing, and then we'll work on strategy, and then they almost become part of our team. But in terms of growth, I mean, our recent growth and our planned continuation of that, I think there's a few core things that we focus on. One is the retention rate. So, we can't grow if all we're doing is replacing lost clients.
Yep.
So that growth is important, or retention rate is important rather, and that's all about doing a good job and communicating with clients and making sure they're understanding what we're doing. That's really important. I think clients value that. I think in terms of our industry in particular, I mean, it changes every 5 minutes. So, staying ahead of the curve, or even maintaining your position in the curve is a challenge in its own right. So something that we kind of stole, I guess, from Google, not quite exactly the same, but they have their kind of 20% time.
Yep.
And that's something that we invest in our staff with as well. So they have an allocation of their time during their working week, their working month, to spend time learning. So it might be that they're teaching other members of their team. It may be that they're learning. It may be that they're sitting, listening to kind of podcasts or watching videos like this one, or even the ones on our YouTube channel. Just understanding more about how to do their job better. So I think it's investing in the team as much as everything else to make sure you're delivering a good job for clients,
Really good.
and that in turn creates the reputation, which creates the referrals and so forth as well.
Yeah.
So.
Makes a lot of sense. Yeah, I've been a Googler myself for about nearly 4 years, so I can really appreciate the 20% time, and I think it's really great that you bring that into your company. So really, really good. Okay, cool. So I'm curious because we talked about search being a major channel and next to the other ones that we discussed. But since you're building out websites and optimizing websites for other companies, I would be curious to learn a little bit about the website and which role it plays in your own business, right? So is that something that you have a lot of focus on? Is that something, there's a bit on the side? Like, what does the website play? Which role does it play in your business?
So ours, I think there are probably lots of digital marketing agencies and even web design agencies who probably are in a similar position to us, slightly embarrassingly, which is, you work on client projects and you kind of focus on them, and your own stuff kind of gets kind of pushed to the back, and rightly so, I think sometimes. But yeah, I think that's a huge challenge for most companies. If you're a painter and a decorator, your house is probably the worst painted and worst decorated house, right? So you're sick and tired of doing it for everybody else. So I think that there's a challenge inherently with that. But yeah, it's a kind of a critical part for us, really, because if our website doesn't look good or our ads aren't top of Google, then how can people trust us to deliver the same for them? So yeah, really, really important. So yeah, it's trying to keep up with kind of practicing what we preach, I guess, in terms of web design, usability, user experience, conversion rate optimization, content, and paid speeds and things like that, which we are struggling with at the moment, but that's a whole other story.
Page speed, interesting topic. We just had a conversation, I think, last week just about page speed.
Yeah.
So really, really good.
Yeah.
Okay, so when you then take in consideration the three pillars that your business is sort of consisting of, I'm curious then, what type of metrics, like how do you construct a setup of metrics, maybe for your own website, that, sort of keeps them in balance and lets you steer the ship? Would you mind telling us a little bit about what types of metrics you guide your business alongside? Maybe, which type of website metrics, for example, are key?
So website, they're very different depending on client, but for our own, obviously we're looking ultimately, as most businesses would, in terms of quantity of conversions that we're getting through the website, and obviously looking at which sources, which channels they're coming from, but also the interaction between those channels. So we know that, as I said before, someone might watch a YouTube video, come straight to the website and send a contact request, or someone might contact us, actually in the comments on a thread on YouTube. But in terms of search, we know that people search multiple times, or they might be exposed to a remarketing ad, or even a display ad kind of earlier in the funnel and read a piece of content, things like that. So different metrics for different stages, really. Ultimately, the kind of end product, as it would be for most businesses, is how many leads am I getting through my website, and what is my conversion rate for each type of lead, and of course how can I improve that, but then segmenting by channel as well. And then beyond that, we're probably then looking back through the funnel and saying, okay, well look, we're running some display ads or remarketing. Are they producing kind of view through conversions? Are they creating assist clicks?
Yep.
Are they part of that journey? Are they adding value? And display for us, looking at real kind of top of funnel and introducing our brand. That's more about creating some really good content, maybe running some ads for that and saying, hey, look, come and read this great post about, 6 ways that you can get more sales through your Magento store, or whatever it might be. And just starting to introduce the brand and educate the brand that, hey, look, we're a good team. We know what we're talking about. We'll give you a load of stuff for free. And if you can learn from it and implement it and make yourself more money, then great. No problem. Be happy. We're quite happy with that. But when you're stuck or you want to get to the next level, then that's where we want to help those clients, and we can help, and we do help. A lot of those people in that situation where they've just taken it to as far as they can, maybe themselves or internally, and it's time to scale and step things up to the next level, I guess.
Pretty good. Makes a lot of sense. So, okay, that was very interesting to learn a little bit about how you're thinking about the metrics. What would you say, because you've been seeing so many companies sort of since they then end up sort of probably asking for some support when they struggle, what do you see is the typical struggles that you have to face on the websites of your client? Like, what are challenges that they're usually facing? Is there themes that you could identify?
You mean just the website itself, or
Yeah.
digital
Yeah,
generally?
just probably the websites, because we've been talking a bit about the websites right now.
Yeah, so websites in particular, I think more from an operational point of view, I think there's a bit of a disconnect between kind of marketing and kind of web developers or even web designers. And this isn't, I'm not saying everybody is the same, but certainly in our experience, we do come across a lot of situations where a client has said, I need a new website, build me a new website. Developer builds a nice website, it looks great, and there are pages and it's all great. And then of course they come to an agency and say, hey, I want to get more leads, I want to get more sales through my website. So we say, okay, well look, you're running Google Ads, we can optimize that, but let's look at your website for a second. So we know that there's a direct correlation between page speed and conversion rate. And actually we've used Google's tools, your Lighthouse or whatever, to kind of run an assessment of your website, and actually there are some speed issues.
Mm-hmm.
Man, what do I do about these speed issues? Well, you go talk to your developer. I mean, this is something we can do for you, but you've got your own developer, so they built the site, they know the code, they know the little hacks they've done to make this quicker or whatever they've done for you. So we don't want to go and break something just because we're, putting some plugins on or doing whatever we're doing. And of course, then you run into well, hang on, I built a website. You didn't say you wanted it to load in less than a second, so that's going to be a whole load more work. So, I think you get yourself in those awkward situations where the client ultimately is buying something without absolutely knowing what it is that they need, and so they ask for, I want A and I want B, but actually not realizing that there's a C, a D, an E, an F, and a G. And of course, the website developer does exactly what they've been asked to do, and they deliver a website that works and people can navigate through and buy stuff or fill in a form. And that's fine. But when you start saying, well, look, I want to generate leads with this, and we go, look, it needs to be quicker, then you run into problems with speed. So now it's like, let's get better hosting. Okay, it's not hosting, it's a code problem. That's what the problem is, or it's your theme or whatever it might be. So I think there's a huge focus on kind of page speed at the moment. Obviously, we're all using mobiles a lot more. The mobile traffic, I think, exceeds desktop on a huge number of the sites, probably more sites than it doesn't now that we work with. And it seems, I saw some data just recently about the volume of search on desktop is actually staying relatively constant, but people are searching more, as in the same person is searching more times now on a mobile to kind of research whatever it is they're buying. To understand it more. So there's more and more growth on mobile, and of course then page load times, page speed are kind of critical, or we just get bored and we go to the next site. So yeah, page speed is a kind of huge one. I think just the user experience generally. I mean, we'll run into kind of obviously issues, and we think, well, look, this could be better, but then of course it's, well, the website's built this way and that's kind of a redesign. So you run into those kind of problems as well. So I think the projects that go best, I think, are the ones where everybody's on the same team. We're all trying to get the same outcome. We're making recommendations to kind of improve the website. The web designer developer is kind of going, yeah, I want to make it better. I want to get you more sales, and they kind of pitch in as well. And those are the ones where they go best. But you get everything from, my website developer's disappeared, I haven't got any contact with them, I don't really know what to do or how to do it, I can't find anyone else, right through to, I have my designer and my developer, but we don't have a retainer and they're just not willing to do anything, right through to outright obstruction. We've had that as well, which is frustrating, when you're trying to get you're trying to improve a client's business.
You mentioned a couple of times page speed now, and it seems to the interviews that I've been having recently that it's increasing it, or the importance is increasing significantly in the last couple of, now it's over a couple of years now, but really the last couple of months I've been pushing that quite a bit. Do you see even, clients coming and say, okay, my main concern is I want to get that site faster? Is that something that is so important that it becomes a main concern, or is it more sort of, alongside advertising, alongside CRO optimization?
Um, I mean, we've certainly had inquiries for things like Magento sites. We have some content around that on our website, so I think that's
Oh,
probably where those came from, about improving page speed on Magento, WooCommerce, or just WordPress itself. So I think that's probably where they come from. But I think part of that is just being driven by the likes of Google. Google has huge amounts of data, and they know that they want their user to have a good experience. So, it's part of the organic ranking algorithm now, of course, and we're all mobile first. As far as I'm aware, everyone's on that now, but if they're not, then it's a small percentage.
yeah.
So, yeah, I think they're just driving that conversation almost. They're kind of controlling that, and it is important. Certainly. I mean, it's not the be all and end all. Look, if you've got kind of pretty poor user experience and your price is too high for your product or your service, or your reputation is poor, you could load your site in 0.1 of a second and it's still not going to increase your conversion rate, because that's not actually fundamentally what your problem is. So it's just one component. And the guys in my office are bored to death of me using the Formula One analogy, but it's a good one. You can have the best driver in the world, but if you've got a poor engine and poor aero, he's not winning anything.
Yep.
And similarly, you can have the best engine, the best aero with a poor driver, and you're still not winning anything. So you need all those component parts kind of working as well as they possibly can to really get the best from it. So page speed, yes, really important. But it's also really important for people to understand that if you improve the page speed, it's not magically going to triple your sales and your leads overnight. There are quite likely to be, and almost always, other problems that you have to target and tackle along with those.
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. I think there's been a lot of focus on speed only, but there is so much more happening. Even though if you're coming on the mobile side a little slow, there's so much other stuff happening at the same time.
Yeah.
Really good. Okay, so as we slowly coming to an end of the conversation, and I've been really thank you for this conversation, which showed us all the different angles, all the different components of the business. What advice would you give yourself if you would have to restart the business now, zoom all the way back, you opening up the door for the office the first time? Like, which advice would you give yourself?
Well, lots. I'd probably be there for about a week. Well, I think it's really tough when you're starting a business and you're maybe not as experienced as you are kind of looking forward like 10, 12 years now. And I think there are lots of little snippets for me personally now, and you look back and you think, that thing I was told like in the first 2 years that I should focus on, I just went, that just sounds stupid. Actually it really isn't. So, things, I think if you want to scale a business, there are some fundamental principles, and there are lots of them, and I'm sure there are people better than me. But I think for me, there are a few critical points at which our business grew. So one is kind of systemizing things and making sure we've got uniform processes, and these things don't need to be massively complicated, but, just those small things that you're doing across a team that you want everybody to do the same way, and just, even if you just have, like we have, we got just like an internal WordPress site with a bunch of forms on it for a number of processes, and it's just that workflow, or using Google Forms or Google Sheets, and just having those little bits of workflow where you can say, right, okay, I'm starting a new project. These are the questions I need to ask, so I ask the right questions. And those for us, which is the second one to think about, is and something we've actually, people externally have commented and said to us is, do you know what? Something that we do really well is learn lessons. Learn from those mistakes that we make. We all make mistakes, but learning from them. And actually a lot of those systems have been created and modified based on that experience. Something's gone a little bit wrong with a project, and it's one of those things where you just think, well, everybody knows this. This is obvious. Why would anyone do anything different? But you know what? Not everybody knows that it's obvious. So, just mentioning that one thing in a kind of an initial project briefing, for example, and saying, I just want to check you understand this. I need access to this. I need access to this. If you're going to do this, please tell me, because otherwise it's disastrous. Just those little things, just to move information around the business, making sure clients are up to date. So yeah, systems and kind of lessons learned, I think, are a kind of critical thing. And the last one, I mean, it's a bit cliche, but people. You're particularly in our business, our people are critical. If we don't have the right people, then our business doesn't grow. So I think that's the other area really to stay on top of, and embracing technology, of course. I'd have to say that, being in a technology business, in a technology industry.
Very good, very good. I really actually want to thank you for that you took the time and guided us a little bit through your world. Also, what I noticed is you have a strong focus on the actual people that you're working with. You mentioned it now. You mentioned it on the importance of growing your business. So I think it's something that hasn't been as mentioned as often in the interviews, and I think it's something that is so important. So thanks for bringing that up again. So again, Mark, thanks for having taken the time with us today, being part of the show today, and appreciate you being our guest.
No problem at all. I enjoyed it.